Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of Up Close on METV. I'm Charles Clapsaddle, Station Manager for Manatee Educational Television, and it is our great pleasure to have with us today Mark Rodgers, the director of the DaVinci Machines exhibition. Not only is he the director, he's also the curator, and some would say, and I would say, the mastermind about bringing this exhibit to Manatee County and the city of Bradenton. Mark, thank you so much for being here. We've been talking about this for a while, and it's such a great pleasure to have you here on the program and to talk about this wonderful exhibit.
Charles, it's absolutely a pleasure to be here. Our time, we've opened up the DaVinci Machines exhibition in Bradenton right about November the 15th. And ever since we've been down here, it has been the most unbelievable, rewarding experience in any stops this exhibition has had in the United States.
Well, Manatee County and the city of Bradenton are very, very fortunate to have this, especially after this exhibit was in Denver, a major metropolitan city, in the city of St. Louis, and now the city of Bradenton is here hosting this exhibit. We're very, very fortunate that you came here.
Well, thank you. The Museum of Leonardo da Vinci in Florence, Italy, where this exhibit is from, they actually made 3 of these exhibits to travel the world. They made one for Europe, they made one for Asia, and they made one for North America, of which this is the one. This is actually the 4th stop of its U.S. journey. It started about 3.5 years ago in Los Angeles, and it journeyed to downtown St. Louis. And then while we were in Denver, Mayor Poston gave us a call. They actually sent a representative out to see us in Denver. And about a week later, I didn't hear from anybody. And about a week later, I got a call from his office, and they said, and it was the mayor, and he said, "Hey, Mark, what are you doing for the winter?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, we're looking for another spot for the exhibit or whatever." He goes, "I want you to come to Bradenton." So we visited Bradenton, and our home crew actually is from St. Louis. And this last winter, it's been a horrible winter.
Terrible winter.
And we could not have made the greatest decision. So we came down, we moved here after almost being a year in Denver. We came here to Bradenton, and it's been absolutely, like I mentioned, an incredible, rewarding experience.
Well, I must say that Mayor Poston is one of your biggest fans. He says this is just a tremendous opportunity for the city and a tremendous opportunity for this entire region. You exceeded, the expectations for attendance, and I believe I read someplace that it's over 15,000 people have attended, which is tremendous.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about coming to Bradenton because Denver is such a huge metropolitan area.
Exactly.
Almost close to 3 million people. And they came down here, but I think the key here not only was the one is that we were so located here around the other communities.
Correct.
Around, Bradenton and St. Pete's and Sarasota and we were drawing people in Tampa even. And we were drawing people from all over the region. And actually, since I've been down here, and out of the 4 stops of this exhibit, I have really never been in a city where they are so proactive in getting the arts and the culture. And so it's been, once again, I've said now 3 times, it's been an absolutely unbelievable, overwhelming experience for us here.
And you've taken the Bradenton Auditorium, which is, kind of a performance space, and you've really transformed that into a museum-like atmosphere. And I think that everybody who enters there are really involved in the process of the exhibit itself. And I want to take a few minutes, if we can, to talk about just the quality and the caliber and the beauty of the exhibit which you've brought here. It's unbelievable. Handcrafted reproductions.
Yes,
of
they were
DaVinci's.
actually made by 3rd-generation artisans at the Museum of Leonardo da Vinci in Florence, Italy. And we actually, when you come through the exhibit, we actually have a small tape of them showing how they actually made the exhibit and put all the models together. Most people know Da Vinci by obviously the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, but most people don't know that he was one of the most prolific inventors of all time. He had 44,000 inventions, only which 14,000 of his drawings survived. And if people come, it's actually quite funny because the people come through the exhibit and they ask me, they said, "Well, these the original of his thing," and I said, "Well, all his originals were made of wood," and I said, "We're trying to get our decks to last about 10 years." So anyway, but these are absolutely beautifully handcrafted and made. And arranged in 4 different sections. It's in the way he actually thought of them and so on. It's the military, flight, hydraulics, and machines. And the main thing that's the most amazing thing about it, that stuns the people, is not only was the amount, but they say there are 2,500 2,500 of his designs, inventions, and theories that we use every day in our life.
And that's just amazing, and I want to talk about your presentation of this, but all of these things are so intricate, so complicated, and there's a simplicity to their design, but the actual composition of them are beautiful.
And the applications of them are unbelievable. When he has, I mean, when you think, well, I mean, just the little things of the worm screw, that and the ball bearing and the circular motion machine that is the predecessor to our locomotives and to our internal combustion engines. We actually have a 350 cubic inch General Motors engine in the exhibit,
true, you do.
And we've actually taken it apart, and people are amazed that everything in that engine, except for the spark plug, who Tesla, Tesla designed the spark plug. Everything that in that engine, every design and theory that moves that 350 cubic inch engine by General Motors forward is from DaVinci. It's amazing.
It really is amazing, and a true genius of his time. But one of the things that I find so admirable and just creates this kind of excitement and dynamic is your enthusiasm and your excitement over this exhibit. And we've seen you interact with people that through the museum and some of your presentations, and you actually bring such knowledge and insight into him as an artist and him as a man. And that's a remarkable achievement because you get this kind of knowledge that you don't really get from a book.
Well, that is a great point. When we first got the exhibit, and my brother John and I took over the exhibition in St. Louis, the gentleman came from Italy, Luigi, and Gabriel came to help us set it up and so on. And at the very end of it, we thought it was basically an exhibition that you just walked through. And they were about to leave the next day, and Luigi said to my brother and John, and he said, and myself, they said, well, when do you want to go through the tour? And I said, what tour? And he said, no, we have to give a guided tour with the exhibit. And I said, oh, you do? I said, well, give it to me. So he walked through the exhibit, and to be honest with you, it was quite lackluster, but it was so informative and so interesting. And I thought, oh my goodness. I said, this goes here, and this goes here, and this fits here, and this is the piece of the puzzle that was missing here. And everything that they said, everything that he did, it was just blew me away. And I just and I began to wind that through to a tour where he not only talked about Da Vinci and how he grew up and his life and that, but by the end of the tour, we're talking about Van Cliburn, and we're talking about Paul McCartney, and we're talking about Les Paul, and all these different things that bring all this together. That the impact that they had is just amazing.
And it's a remarkable achievement, I really do, because not only do you have these beautiful and intricate machines and his creations, but through your knowledge and background and the excitement that you bring to this, people are walking away with more insight, more knowledge, more excitement about these great masters. And that's a remarkable achievement, and you should be congratulated on that.
Well, thank you so much. You know, the funny part about it is the more that I found out about it, the more I wanted to find out about it. And then the more I wanted to find out about it, I wanted to tell everybody about it. And so it just kind of, that's what I wanted to know. And the people have come in, and what they say, and I'm just saying, well, I don't want to be self-accolading by any means, but the one lady came in, the one exhibit, and said, God brought me into this exhibit today. And I thought, well, that was so nice of you to hear and say, and I'm flattered to hear that. But it's really the one lady came in with her whole family, and they said that they'd spent the last 3 weeks in Europe, in Italy, traveling Europe, and they said they found out more about the Italian Renaissance and Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo than they found in our exhibit than they did 3 weeks traveling Europe.
And I can see that as perfect, because the insight and the knowledge and the details that you can provide are just amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And one of the great things that you do through this exhibit is you host a lot of young people, schools visit, classes visit, and the excitement that you kind of relay to the young people is just great. I mean, I think that's a very, very exciting thing, because in this day of digital domain, you really can excite young people. But once they see this and they hear the excitement of it, they're kind of enthused.
we want, and I tell them, our other manager, our managing manager, Jesse, that works with us so closely at the exhibit, he said people have no idea what's going to happen when they come through the exhibit.
Exactly.
And that they're going to be changed. And we want you to be changed. There is absolutely no way that you can walk through that place and not come out and be changed.
And that's an excellent point, because a lot of people, they'll go to an exhibit or an art exhibit and they'll see it and they'll take a great deal of pleasure in that. But I think with this exhibit, because it is multimedia, you have films that are being shown, people can actually work a machine or two, they can see different images and stuff. So they walk away with this kind of concentration of knowledge.
This one lady walked in at the end of the one tour. She walked up and she was leaving the exhibit, and she said, "You know what I've decided I have to do in my life?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "I have to ramp it up." She goes, "And I leave here, I am going to ramp up my life." And that's the fun part. Our theme to our exhibit when we get there, and it's all over the place, is to discover the Da Vinci in you.
Right.
That is our theme, and that when you look at what one man did. And we even say that during the tour, not that long ago, actually in 1899, Charles Durrell, who was the head of the U.S. Patent Office.
Exactly.
Which is a very interesting story. He was being head of the U.S. Patent Office in 1899. He sent a letter over to Congress. And in his letter to Congress in 1899, he said to Congress that you can go ahead and close the U.S. Patent Office.
Everything's been done.
Everything's been done. Everything's been invented and things like that. And as I tell him, he said, I mean, how dead wrong was that guy? And I said, there's so much, look at everything that's happened between 1899. And I tell her one time, if we did if there's one person out there that did one thing in their life that they concentrated on, and also our other main theme through the exhibit is this personal time that you need for development.
Right.
That is the key to this.
Well, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but one of the things that you've done in your efforts to not only express the great things that Da Vinci and Michelangelo have done is that you've actually done a whole series of presentations. Recently, you did 2 back-to-back shows at the Manatee Performing Arts Center, where you not only showed all the many great things that are happening as part of the exhibit, but you provided this insight and this knowledge and this passion about these 2 great artists. And I want to take a moment now just to mention that you have another wonderful show coming up on April 19th at the Van Wezel Performing Arts Center. Please tell us about that, because that's a major achievement. And I think, again, you're to be congratulated for reaching out to the Van Wezel to provide this.
Well, we've taken all these images, and I say that we have movies, we have animations, we have obviously of reproductions of his drawings, and his sculptures or whatever. But the main thing is what we try to do through the whole presentation is we call it side by side. And the one that when we were first putting it together, everyone said that we should call it the Battle of the Titans, because everybody loves a war. Everybody loves conflict. They love this against each other. And the more that you find out about Da Vinci and Michelangelo, they weren't fighting with themselves. They were fighting the powers that be. They were actually that they were using their creativity and their things, and they had to focus. They actually had to think outside the box and think around the powers that be to get their message out, the same way we do today.
Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize, and you do this in a very eloquent and a very articulate manner, is that they were contemporaries, Michelangelo and Da Vinci. They were contemporaries. They didn't, they weren't the best of friends, but, they knew each other. They worked in the same period of time.
Yeah, they actually, Michelangelo was 22 years younger than Leonardo da Vinci. When she said they were constant competitors, they actually not only did they not like each other, they actually hated each other during the Renaissance. They couldn't stand to be in the same room with each other. And in fact, Michelangelo during his entire life referred to Leonardo da Vinci not as Da Vinci or not as Leonardo, but he called him and referred to him as the old man. And he actually said that he thought that Da Vinci was out of touch with what was going on in Rome and Milan and Florence of the day. But they're 22 years young. You know how kids are.
They're how kids are. But the remarkable thing that you bring to this presentation, Mark, and it really is that you give insight into the man itself. You talk about their background, their upbringing, the work that they did, how they took steps to what they created, how they created it. It's a very intricate portrait of both of these individuals, and again, side by side. It's a remarkable achievement.
because we don't want them to see this as this huge monolith in the sky, because they're not this monolith. They were human beings. They got up every day. They had their own trials and tribulations. They had their own critics. I mean, Michelangelo had his own. When you talk about that, one of his biggest pieces of artwork was one of the huge critics that he actually went back to correct. That he actually corrected. That he actually tricked them.
That's right.
You know how he had corrected one of his most major pieces of artwork, but he really didn't. He just tricked the people into seeing it. That he did. That he said, even he wrote many, many years later in his writings, Michelangelo, at the very end of his life, he was a prolific writer, and he wrote sonnets, and he wrote songs, and he was just, at the end of his life, and he wrote back, and he said that when he was painting the Sistine Chapel, that he said all the internal struggles that he had within himself, all the struggles that he had with Pope Julius II, and his critics actually said to him, they said he only painted frescoes when he had to, when the popes asked him to, and he said, and his critics said, well, he couldn't do a very good job.
That's right. Yeah.
He couldn't do a very good job. How good a job could he do? And he wasn't into this actual portrait painting that DaVinci was in, which was a huge, another whole level of painting in itself.
Right.
And then, I mean, we saw what came out. I mean, he emerged victorious.
And you know, the story that you bring, the story that you create a very human face for both of these, you know, great artists, and by understanding that, you can see the power and the dynamic of all of their work, and it's a remarkable achievement. But I want to talk a little bit about, you know, your event that's coming up at the Van Wezel, because this is a very, very important event. And I would encourage anybody in the community in both Sarasota and Manatee County to see this, because Mark's presentation at the Manatee Performing Arts was sold out, both shows. It's an event that one can really get involved with. And Mark, you know, works with the audience, and it's a very exciting presentation. It's not an art lecture. It's not like, here's the painting, here, let me tell you about it. This is a multimedia show that's very, very exciting.
Yeah, and with the it's actually in 2 acts, so you get a little break in there because it's so much to take in at one time.
Absolutely.
And so much to take in at one time, and we actually start from the beginning of their lives. We tell how they were born and what they were in and how they were raised, and then we even talk about the very end of their life. We talk about what happened at being 88 years old. That Michelangelo lived to be 88 years old, and DaVinci actually lived. The average life expectancy at the time was 42 to 45 in the long end, and Michelangelo and DaVinci actually figured out how to outlive everybody in their lifetime. I mean, and I even say that during that you don't think the 2 greatest geniuses
knew
how to live a long, healthy, incredible life. Of course, they figured out how to have a long, healthy, incredible life. So we talk about everything, but plus the relationship of them to each other, of them to the outside, which is really the key part.
And it is, and I think some of the insight that you bring to that, you know, melding that with history and contemporary history, and you know how they achieve things, it's a great achievement. One of the things from seeing your presentation that I took away is that you have this passion, drive, energy that really comes across, that makes it so enjoyable for an audience to get involved with, because you do that in such a way, in such an energetic and passionate way, that it's a pleasure to watch it.
Well, thank you so much. You know, think about it, and I tell the people at the exhibit when they leave and after the presentation at the Manatee Performing Arts Center, they said, oh, you're so passionate and you get into it. How can you not? I mean, we're talking about the 2 of the greatest geniuses that in the history of the world that ever lived, and we're talking about how everything that they did, everything that they said, relates to us today. I tell that to the young children about Michelangelo, for instance, that, well, there's a 30-second part of that. DaVinci was tall and handsome, gregarious, and Michelangelo was kind of small and diminutive. DaVinci believed that you should look impeccable and you dress and you should be at your 100% best every day of your life. Michelangelo was the total opposite. He actually slept in his clothes. And the reason they didn't find out later that he slept in his clothes was that when he woke up in the morning, that he was so full of his passion to create that he didn't even take time to change his clothes. He wanted to wake up and immediately go to his artwork, immediately go to his passion. And I tell that to the people at the exhibit. You know, in life, even today, you know, we're always on our phones and stuff. We're always constantly receiving and sending and receiving. And I tell them to find out what your passion is in your life, that what is that drives you the night before you go to bed, that you want to be dressed
ready
to get up and go to right hit the first time. And that's what I'm trying to, that's really I'm trying to get
and you
across.
do it in such a manner and fashion that you enthrall people with it. So let's take a brief look at a moment of Mark's presentation and what one can expect from his presentation at the Van Wezel.
He designed it as an interlocking gear system, and as the wheels would come around, it'd turn the gear cage on top, and the blades would come around and literally mow down the opposition. Wow, huh? What did you think? What did you think if you're on the battlefield and you saw about 25 of these things coming at you? What would you think? I know what you'd think. You'd think, kill the rider and get out of the way. But Da Vinci was truly a man of peace. I have many examples to show you truly what a man of peace Da Vinci was. They said there was another reason he left one or two key factors out of his military machine drawings. You know why? Because he didn't want them to work. They said when Da Vinci would go through villages and towns around Florence and Milan and Rome, as he'd go through the center squares of town, he'd buy birds in cages as he'd go through the center marketplaces. And then when he got to the edge of town, you know what he'd do? He'd open them up and set them free. Does that sound like a man of war to you? Not to me. It sounds like a man of peace to me. And I have many examples to show you truly what a man of peace Da Vinci was.
Well, as you can see, Mark's energy and excitement really is just palpable, and it's just something that everyone must see, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're a fan of Da Vinci or not. It is such a remarkable presentation that I think everyone should enjoy it. And Mark, you know, I know you obviously given this presentation before, but each time that you see it, there's this kind of like originality and excitement that comes through.
Well, you know, people said, you know what the crazy question people ask me all the time? They say, who do you like better? You like Da Vinci, you like Michelangelo. Michelangelo like Da Vinci, you like Da Vinci. And, you know, I mean, it's so crazy, but I think part of it is, I think part of it keeps the originality of it so fresh, is that that Da Vinci, you know, was into everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not I mean, they even found now that he designed clothing. He sang beautifully. They even found a handbag that he designed now. So I mean, so he was into art and music. He designed. In fact, they say in the picture of the musician, the famous with the red hat on, they say that's actually him.
Really?
That's actually him as a young Leonardo da Vinci, and because he designed musical instruments and he designed with all of his inventions. But his whole thing, and the whole thing about it was with Da Vinci, again, is his entire life and everything that he wanted to do was to make our life better.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I think that's really evident in the 60 or so machines that you have as part of your exhibit. That the agriculture, the boats, the worm screw, the pulleys, all of these things were part of his concept of, to benefit humanity.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, what even kind of funny part, I mean, I wasn't quite right for about 3 days after I first read this about Da Vinci, that when he died, that in his first day he was so connected to the common man, he was so connected to the individual, that on the way to his final resting place, he wanted his coffin to be followed not by kings or princes or aristocracy, that he wanted the way to a final resting place, they wanted his coffin to be followed by 60 beggars. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's just really, when you think about that our whole life, that people think, well, we want to get recognized by somebody big or somebody this or thing this or some politician. He didn't want any of those people. He wanted his own peers.
The common man.
To compliment him. How incredible is that?
But that is the kind of level of detail and insight that you provide throughout your conversations. And those are the kind of things that people take in so they understand the complexity of the individual and also how that individual created his art. And that level of detail, that excitement that you bring is really, I mean, it's something that, that's not been in this area before. And I would encourage everyone who is available to go to the Van Wezel on April 19th and see this wonderful exhibit. Now, we're kind of winding down a little bit, Mark, and I want to take a little time to talk about the impact of the exhibit that it's made here in Manatee County. As I said, exceeded, expectation, over 15,000. What do you want people to take away, not only from the exhibit, but also from your presentations? What is that tangible thing that you want people to walk out with?
What I want them to walk out with not only is a respect for these two people, even more than you could possibly have, even the more respect, but I also want to see it as a as a reflection of their own life. And they walk in, and like I said before about this personal time that they had, that they need. At the one exhibit that we had in, we had the DaVinci Michelangelo side by side in Denver. They actually had this booth that a complete recreation of Michelangelo's desk, and he called his personal desk, this personal area, he called it his contemplative room. Where he would go in and dream and think, and we all need that. That we all need to break that apart away aside in our house, in a way that we can actually have this time that we can actually dream and think and imagine and create and wonder. And that is the main thing, that if we can relate this to our lives and push us forward, that is the main thought.
And I think that is what you're doing each and every day when that exhibit is open. As people come through it, and as you've so aptly said, they begin to discover the Da Vinci in that.
Well, I cannot thank METV, Charles, I cannot thank you for everything that they've done for us. Everybody has been so supportive here. I mean, from the mayor and from the Bradenton Visitors Area and Convention Visitors Bureau has been unbelievable. Even the local merchants and the people who have been coming through, and it's just been one of the most positive stops. I didn't think it could get any better than Denver before I came out here. That was kind of that was the bar, we thought.
Well, that's
and we have blown the doors off of Denver.
Well, and I think that's a remarkable thing because of not only the uniqueness but also the drive and energy that you bring. It's remarkable. So, again, congratulations on extending that, and I think the city and everybody realize, the importance of, continuing to have an exhibit of the caliber and quality that you've brought here. Tell us briefly, if people want to come to the exhibit, it's at the Bradenton Auditorium, which is right on Baccarata Boulevard, but your hours are what?
Yeah, we're 10 to 6 every day. We're open every day, now through the time that we leave, because we want everybody to get a chance to come in to see it.
Even weekends included? Even
weekends included. On Sunday, they let us, we're only open 12 to 6 on Sunday. They let us sleep in 2 extra hours on Sunday. It's very nice.
That's good.
And our website is discoverdavinci.com. If we have any new updates we put on there or whatever, we're going to have, we have like our local artists have come by and they do live artwork at the display. And we're looking forward to that, and we have, to continue that theme. I even think the Bradenton Film Festival is going to have their closing night there at the exhibition.
And I think I've heard about that. And, it's an inaugural event that they're trying to kick off here, and they want to use the Da Vinci exhibit as part of the backdrop for their special event.
And we could not be any more honored to be part of that.
And again, I think Manatee and the city of Bradenton should be very honored that you selected this area to bring this exhibit. I think anywhere that you go, it would be a success, whether it's in the bright lights of Denver or St. Louis or here in Manatee County. Any city, this exhibit would certainly be most appreciative, and your energy and drive, it brings a lot to it, and is like the driving force behind this exhibit. And I think your enthusiasm, it's really contagious. I've seen you speak to groups of people, and when they leave, they get so excited. They have that, and I think your catchphrase, "How cool is that?" I think you should get that patented, because I think I've heard people starting to say it now. So
well, that's very nice. And then, but the thing I want to point out is I get as much from the people that come to the exhibit. The people that they come there and they look up and they when they talk to me and they say to me the different things, and they also, and I learned as much. I'm still on the 100% full total of learning, and people are, "Hey, did you know this about him? Did you know this about him?"
That's great.
So I learn as much from the people as hopefully they get some benefit from myself.
Well, if the sold-out performances at the Manatee Performing Arts Center are any indicator that your thing at the Van Wezel on, tell us the date and time again?
April 19th. It's actually Easter Saturday. How perfect to come by and spend Easter Saturday with us.
Wonderful.
Going through the Renaissance with us.
And people can find out about tickets by going to the Van Wezel site and finding out?
Absolutely there. And also we can go to our website at Discover Da Vinci. We also have we have made one just for this one called Discover Michelangelo. So just type in Discover Da Vinci, type in Discover Michelangelo, and we come right up.
Perfect.
And then we would absolutely love to see everyone there at the Van Wezel.
Mark, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, and I know you have a very busy schedule. You're, if anybody can be described as a Renaissance man, I think you truly can. And your vision, to develop this and to bring it, and not only that, but the excitement that you've put into this multimedia event is tremendous. And especially, I want to thank you for bringing the original.
My pleasure. It's on loan.
The original Mona Lisa, is it?
Well, actually, it's a little bit. It's pretty close. It's actually a licensed digital image from the Museum of Leonardo da Vinci, and we had it printed and stretched and framed to the exact size of the Mona Lisa. So
Wow.
you couldn't get any closer than the original that we've got right here.
And that's the level of detail that you bring to this entire body of work, is the detail and the precision and the finesse that you bring to it. And Mark, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this, but also for bringing this wonderful exhibit here to the city of Bradenton in Manatee County. It's truly one of a kind. People walk away with it with excitement and knowledge and insight that they didn't really have before. It's a unique and wonderful exhibit.
I'll tell you one other thing. One of our first meetings down here, we met with the city fathers, and Elliot from the city of
Elliot Falcone, yes.
Elliot was saying, and he said, "Mark, how do you like it down here?" I said, "Elliot, I really like it down here." He said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "Mark, you're never going to leave, right?" And I said, and I didn't quite know what that meant at the time, but I know what he meant now. I love Bradenton. I love Sarasota. I love the Gulf Coast. I don't think we're ever going to leave.
Well, if I was to take a guess, I think you're probably thinking of other projects and other exhibits and other areas, because you really truly are a Renaissance person. And again, thank you so much for sharing this. One last time on the Van Wezel exhibit, the Van Wezel performance, April 19th. Van Wezel Performing Arts Center.
Yes, go to vanwezel.org. We would love to see you there. I promise you that we put this together, that it had to be. There was only one thing my criteria was when I put this presentation, this multimedia presentation together. It had to be worthy of DaVinci and Michelangelo.
And it truly is.
And
because
I want to make it worthy, and I promise you it'll be worthy of DaVinci
and it truly is. I mean, the images, the multimedia, the clips, everything, it's just a remarkable program. And, you have, and I think if Michelangelo and Da Vinci were here, they'd be very, very proud of what you've done on their behalf, and the continued knowledge and that you continue to put forth about these two great artists.
Charles, thank you so much. Ever since I've been here, even today, I'm totally overwhelmed.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you for joining us on this very special edition of Up Close on METV. Please find out more about Da Vinci and Michelangelo side by side. It's an experience you won't want to miss.